For this video, we're going to talk about charts, and charts are a very visual type of thing. There's something that helps people get information in a visual way without having to deal with numbers because, let's face it, a lot of people don't like numbers. A lot of times, Excel is used to create, based on data, create some nice-looking charts that are going to be presented, maybe in a PowerPoint presentation or some other way. And most of the time, especially, let's say you're some type of accountant or you work in a department that deals with a lot of numbers, tracking things like this, and this is something that you deal with all day long, right? You're very familiar with it. But there are some spreadsheets created that are pretty confusing. And if you just show a spreadsheet to somebody, a higher up, somebody that's your supervisor, they might look at that and go, I just want to know, how we're doing. I want to know what's selling the best. I don't want all these numbers. So that's what you do with a chart. It's a nice way to relate information visually. And it goes way beyond this conditional formatting that we've done here. It's actually very simple. It's not hard to do. You can create a very nice looking chart very quickly. And there's several styles depending on what kind of chart and how you want to, represent the data or the information. Let's go ahead and go to the Insert tab here. And we've got a nice big section on charts. Tons of different kinds of charts. And if you don't like the ones here, they've even got several other types. Okay, but here's the way it works. You click and drag to make a selection. And let's say I want to include in this chart the description, what the items are, and the quantity sold. So I've got that selected. I'm going to do column, and there's several different types of columns. We'll go ahead and go with this one right here. And notice what happens. There are some caveats here about creating charts. What Excel has done is because I selected that entire range, it also included all the empty cells here. And I don't want those included in my chart, right? So here's what I can do. You'll see that the data has been separated. Excel is smart enough to know, hey, this stuff here is text, and then you got numbers over here. So it's got two groups, and when I hover over, you can see the highlighting there, right? But I want to change this range so it only includes this data. So I'll just click on that little box right in the corner, click and drag, and resize that so it only includes that data, and my chart gets updated. Now this is a lot better because if I show this in a presentation or to my supervisor or whatever, right away they just go, whoa, what is that right there? Chef's Set Measuring Cups. We are selling a ton of those. Okay, so very easily they can visually get a hold of what's going on without caring about specific numbers. Let's go ahead and shrink that one down, and we'll just kind of position it here. Let's go with another one. Let's say I want to do the descriptions, and I want to do sales values so we can see where we're making our money. So I'm control clicking to make a non-adjacent selection. We'll go to Insert, and let's do a pie chart. Let's do a three-dimensional pie chart that is exploded. So now we can see where our separation is. Whoops, I'm trying to grab the pie itself. And one thing about this that you'll notice is that all the entities that make up a chart, they're all separate. Okay, but that means that we can make changes to it actually. You can go in there, you can customize the coloring. Let's say I want to change the whole style. Let's go with the green color scheme. Okay, and on an individual level also, you can right click, go to Format Data Point. Let's go to Fill Color, and let's change it to a gradient fill just to get, fancy with it, and you can change it that way. Okay, so you can go in there and format, change all of that stuff. I'll do another one just to make it obvious for you. Right click on what you want to change. Whoops. Select this one. See the 3 points there? That tells me this one is selected. Right click on it, go to Format Data, and then whatever it is that you want to change. Let's say I wanted to add a drop shadow. So let's throw in a drop shadow, Fill color. Let's change this to a solid fill. And I'll click and drag. Select blue. Close it. And that changes that to blue. Okay. So then you can go in there. Now notice that the coloring that I selected is mapped to the legend. So when I changed the color, it automatically changed over here in the legend. So again, now I can see visually, very quickly and easily, that I've got 3 products here. And if I hover over one of them, it shows me a little tooltip there with actual values. 18% of my sales comes from the imitation clay flower pots over here. 20% of my sales comes from the inflatable USB keyboard that we're marketing. Okay. Now, in addition to this, there are things that we can modify, like the legend right here. I've selected it. Let's go ahead and stretch it out. And even if you wanted to, you could move things around. Notice the 4 crosshairs right there. So you can move the legend around. You can even, let's expand this quite a bit. I could shrink down the size of the pies and then the pie slices, and then, move this accordingly. Now, if you have gone in and made customizations and you'd like to just say, you know what, forget that, I want to go back, right click, go to Reset to Match Style, and that'll fix everything that you changed and update it. Okay, let's go ahead and shrink this one down. Upper right hand corner, I'll just click and drag, and you can do this in any of the corners, incidentally. Okay, and I'm going to have to resize my legend. By the way, individual things inside the legend are also editable. Okay, so you can make changes in here as well. Now, if you select the legend itself, let's right click it and shrink the fonts. Notice that all the fonts are getting tinier, right? So you can do a ton of customization and make this exactly really what you want it to look like. Okay, so that's a pie. And let's go ahead and do one more just for the sake of entertainment mostly. Insert, and this time let's do an area chart. And we'll go ahead and do a 3D one like this. Whoops, I need to deselect. Sorry about that. I need to deselect the existing chart because that changed it. So let's do Control Z and undo it. There we go. And we'll reselect our values here. This one, we'll go with unit cost just to vary things a little bit. And we'll go with area chart. There we go. And it just gives us, this one is actually much more handy. I tell you what, let's delete that. This will be a lot better if we select this and then select this whole area over here. So now we're going to go with 3 different numerical value types. And that works really well with a 3D area chart like this, okay? Because now we can see Series 1, Series 2, and Series 3. And a lot of this, of course, these numbers are not nearly related because we've got quantities, unit costs, totals. So they're kind of a large gap of differences there, but you get the idea of what it can do. It'll take this first series, which is quantity, and it maps that on there. And then it takes the next one, which is unit cost. All of those are very low in relation to our sales total, so they're pretty much flat-lined. And then the last one is the totals there, and it just kind of shows us on the chart visually what's going on with that. Okay? Now you can, if you want, most of the time a chart is not going to be helpful on the same screen because there's, it kind of covers up information. You can go to Move Chart, and let's go ahead and inside of this existing spreadsheet, I'm going to click the drop down and tell it to move it to Sheet 3 and click OK. And there we go. We are now in Sheet 3. Our chart gets moved over for us. If I wanted to, let's go back to this, and I'll select this chart, the pie chart, and move that to a new sheet. We're going to call this pie. How about that? Something very original. Click OK. And there you go. You get a new spreadsheet This one, since it was created new, does not have the graphs. It's actually a pie sheet. It's a brand new sheet all to its own. So it doesn't even have any of the graphs or anything like that. And incidentally, if you want to, let's say you wanted to move pi down the line here because you want, your actual data to be first, you can click and drag on these tabs and reposition it. See that little triangle tick mark there? Okay, so we'll drop it right there. Let's go ahead and move this one as well. Move that to a new sheet, and we will call this bars. And there we go. So now, move that one too. We've got our data, we've got our bars, we've got our pi, and we've got our, let's go ahead and get rid of this one because that one doesn't look too good with the interesting values there. So right click and delete. Now the nice thing about charts is that they're dynamic. Let's go ahead and fix this. We got a little more room here now. So we will make our text a little bigger so we can read it. The charts are dynamic. So let's go ahead on bars. Notice where chef's set measuring cups is going up to well over 2,000, right? So let's go back here. And chef set measuring cup, let's take it down to 1,000 and go back to the bars chart and see what happens. Look at that. Now, it still looks tall, but that's because the scale got changed. So it actually updated everything dynamically. And the way that it works is the maximum value in your chart is always going to show up at the top unless you forcefully change things. So let's go back to the green one. This is radio-controlled soda can caddy. Here's the radio-controlled soda can caddy. Let's make this one 1,000 now. And when we go back to bars, boom, it gets updated. So the nice thing about this is these charts are dynamic. They're based on live data. If the data changes, the chart gets updated. And now, my friend, you are basically ready to go. You've got tons of knowledge, and you can get started using Excel right away. There's one more topic that I want to address in this fast track to Excel, and that is printing, and we'll do that in the next exercise.